In the NCAA record book, it says that in order to be eligible for the NCAA tournament in men's lacrosse, a team must be 500 or better. So with Syracuse sitting at 4-7 with 3 games to go, it is win or go home season. The first must-win game came this past weekend down in Chapel Hill. Did Cuse pull off the upset over UNC? Are the Orange still postseason eligible? Stick around to find out.
In case you didn't know, Syracuse is a women's lacrosse school. The 4th-ranked Orange put in work yet again this past week. It didn't matter if they were at Christian Brothers Academy or in the Dome. Goals were scored left and right by Cuse's brightest stars, along with those phenoms breaking coach-trainers' records. Oh yeah, you better believe it.
Plus, Syracuse softball was on the road this weekend taking on Louisville. Both teams are towards the bottom of the ACC, but as Michael Scott once said, desperate situations yield the quickest results. Who was more desperate? That answer, plus highlights, stories, and so much more. This is On the Bench, and it starts right now. Lacrosse, softball, tennis, rowing, track. We got it all right here on the Bench. Welcome one, welcome all to the CitrusTV studio. I'm Jaron, joined by Trey Redfield. Trey, what sport are you most excited to talk about today?
I'm most excited about lacrosse. We're getting towards the end of the season. Women's lacrosse, one of the best here on the Hill. Men's lacrosse fighting for a tournament spot too. Whoa.
Wrong answer. The answer is rowing. The answer is rowing. All right, we begin with our headlines of the week. Etch Emily Harris-Chuck's name into stone. The grad student for Syracuse women's lacrosse just became SU's all-time leader in goals. Harris-Chuck found the back of the net 4 times against UAlbany on Tuesday, which gave her 262 career goals. That's enough to set the record and pass Kayla Trainer, Cuse's current head coach, for the top spot. Harris-Chuck is also top 5 in career points and has her name all over the Syracuse record books for individual game performances and season records. She is truly one of the best to ever do it here on the Hill.
The name Carrier Dome is no more. According to Sportico, the Loud House is now going to be called the JMA Wireless Dome. This coming after the university negotiated a settlement to terminate the, quote, lifetime naming rights deal with Carrier, the home of Syracuse athletic programs. Football, both men's and women's basketball, along with men's and women's lacrosse, is no longer sponsored by Carrier after a 40-year relationship.
The Felicia Leggett Jack era is continuing to take shape. 3 new players have announced they are transferring to Cuse. One is Olivia Owens, a 6'4" forward who played 2 seasons at Kentucky and averaged 4 points and 3 rebounds. She's the former number 34 overall recruit. Kyra Wood also announced she is transferring to Syracuse. The Buffalo native is a 6'3" forward who finished second on Temple this past year in blocks. Finally, Cheyenne McEvans is following her coach and transferring from UBuff to Syracuse. She's a former MAC All-Freshman team player and averaged 8 points this past season. The Orange have now added 5 transfers this offseason. In college lacrosse, you must be 500 or better in order to make the NCAA tournament. Syracuse men's lax was staring down the barrel of that reality this past weekend. With 3 games remaining, the Orange sat at 4-7. So every game is a must-win, including a date with North Carolina. The Tar Heels went into the matchup losers of 2 straight, where they averaged just 5 goals per game. So Cuse was catching them at the right time. Syracuse, on the other hand, also went into the game on a cold streak. And this one started at the face-off X. Back and forth these 2 teams went, and it started not Syracuse's way. Nick Kakemo, a turnover, and then is an easy goal for Chris Gray. Get to know that name. He's a Tewaaraton watch list finalist. He's one of the best players in the ACC, preseason player of the year in the conference, one of the best in the entire country. He nets another one, upper left 90, and it's a 4-1 lead for UNC. Gray finished with 5 goals, but then Syracuse would get back into it. Tucker Dordovic with one of his 3 goals on the day. That's his 9th hat trick this season, and it's a 1-goal game going into the halftime break. Coming out of the break, well, it's all UNC. They go on a 4-0 scoring run, and Syracuse needs to answer to get back into it. They go to Pete Fiorini. He finishes as he dives down the alley, puts one up upper left 90, and then to tie this ball game up at 12 apiece, it's Jackson Birtwistle. The red shirt freshman fires one in, and we are tied at 12-12. Then Brendan Curry shows off his speed, goes left, and finishes. It's a 13-12 game. Syracuse on top on a 4-0 run. But then UNC would answer right back. Lance Tillman with an absolute zing to the bottom right 90. So we are tied up at 13-13. Who's going to break the stalemate? 15 seconds to go. It's Chris Gray. Who else? 6 total points for the best player on the field. North Carolina grabs the 14-13 victory. And after it, our own Jesse Cook was down in UNC.
In simple terms, you can talk about this outing the same way that J.R.R. Tolkien described the travels of Bilbo Baggins. There and back again. North Carolina toppled Syracuse 14-13 in a battle that went down to the final buzzer. This game, in simple terms, went back and forth and back again. As time trudged on, fatigue set in, but if you haven't been paying attention to the Syracuse men's lacrosse team this season, let me tell you firsthand, they're all about the next man up mentality.
Next guy up, practice like a starter. And I think that mentality really carried over into our program and into the culture.
One thing this group will pass on and the kids will learn from is to never give up, how to play till the last second, till the final whistle, and play with heart and never quit.
You missed the half an hour behind closed doors. I think we got all the tears out. We have a special group, and just the hugs, and everyone is extremely emotional in the locker room.
After one of the most eventful tilts of the season in the entire NCAA, Syracuse heads home and preps for Virginia on Saturday. From Chapel Hill, I'm Jesse Cook, CitrusTV.
With the loss, Syracuse will now not make the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2007. And this year and back in 2007, they were eerily similar. Back then, attacker Mike Lavelle led the team with 39 points as a junior, and he didn't have much other help. This season, it's also a one-man show with Tucker Dordevic in his redshirt junior season. The midi-turned-attacker is leading the team with 42 goals, and no one is close to him. So 2 individual players very similar. The overall statistics are also pretty comparable. The 2022 squad gets the nod in most categories, but you have to take into account the increase in speed and competition as the sport of lacrosse has grown. Now, both seasons took similar tracks as well. The Orange had a major upset in both 2007 and 2022, had a loss against a top-ranked team, and had narrow losses to really good Cornell teams just by 1 goal in both of those years. So, all in all, 2007 and 2022 are pretty darn close. Let's take a trip down memory lane to Syracuse's loss to Cornell way back in 2007.
Just an amazing play at the end. MAXIE bowled with a game-winning goal with just 4 seconds left, beating Steve Panarelli and scoring the winning goal. Just an amazing range of emotions after the game. Cornell obviously ecstatic. Peter Colaccini was so upset he broke his stick on his knee after the game, and obviously the talk after the game was still about that final goal.
He started talking about a play where I started with it and carried it behind the cage and go lefty and possibly look for some guys cutting, but running that through my head, it didn't seem like we had enough time, and I told him I think I could get under him and get to the cage, and he let me do it.
We were going to slide to him, but not knowing what they were going to be set up in offensively, we relied on our communication to see who was going to go, and we didn't get that. Max made a great play, and as a result, they win the game.
Giving 100% the whole entire game, and then come up 1 goal short at the end. With 8 seconds left, it does a lot. Because, all that work you got to get out of the hole, to get back into a game, to lead a game, to tie a game, doesn't mean anything anymore.
Little trip down memory lane, but Trey, here's the thing. Remember in the episode of The Office when they go to the dump and they find that one little flower, or rather they want that flower, and it says, hope grows in a dump? That's what Syracuse has right now, because back in 2007, it seemed like it was bleak. It seemed like it was all losses because they didn't make it to the NCAA tournament. But then in 2008 and 2009, they won back-to-back national championships. Now, I'm not saying that this will happen next year and the year after, but they have a great recruiting class, and this foundation of the Gary Gate era is just beginning.
Yeah, the negatives are showing up right now, and the losses are going to come, but Gatis said it. You know, this is a team that just does not quit and shows grit and determination. You talked about the future. Turn that brown upside down, Orange fans, because I got a feeling Syracuse is going to turn it up here in the next coming years with Joey Spallina coming in and company, too.
A lot of great recruits, and maybe if history repeats itself, Syracuse could be finding itself on Memorial Day weekend next year. Now, coming up, a lacrosse team that will be on Memorial Day weekend, at least we are assuming. A team that is not only in the hunt for the NCAA tournament, but the national championship. Cuse Willax is making history right now. We'll tell you how after the break.
Every time I hear the alarm bell go off in school, I think it's an air raid.
A lot of houses in our neighborhood have been destroyed. I like to close my ears and sing songs whenever the bombs come close.
I'm worried our new neighbors won't like us.
But I know it's all gonna be worth it. I just want my family to be safe. But these are not my words.
These are not my words.
These are not my words.
Postseason play is right around the corner, which means it's crunch time for Syracuse women's lacrosse. Hello and welcome back to On the Bench. Jaron May and Trey Redfield in the CitrusTV studio. Trey, Cuse Willax wrapping up the regular season.
Yeah, you know, Jaron, this is an awesome Orange squad, and it seems like each and every time they take the field, they shine in a whole new way. And after a midweek win at Cornell, fourth-ranked Syracuse was starting to put the North Carolina loss behind itself. And, I mean, rightfully so. The ACC is loaded this year. UNC leads the way with Cuse, Duke, and Boston College gunning for that second seed in the conference tournament. With Charlotte North and BC looming, though, the Orange's final two home games are ever so important. It started with Louisville at, Christian Brothers Academy? Monster Jam was in the Dome on Saturday, so CBA had to do. Let's go midway through the first. Nicole Peroni making things interesting early, goes bottom left 90. 2-1 Cardinals with that score. 5 minutes later, Megan Tyrell at the doorstep. The feed from Natalie Smith to tie things up at 2. How about Peroni, though? Each and every time Tyrell scores, Peroni would answer, this time in the second quarter on the woman up opportunity. Coast top shelf, Louisville up 4-2. Have no fear, though. Tyrell is here. She had all 5 scores. This one as well. All of them in the first half. She ties it up at 5 with that goal right there. 3 minutes later, Peroni with another, this time on the free position. Louisville 7, Syracuse 7. But Tyrell would end this game of seesaw with a minute left in the second, going from X right on the doorstep and binding the back of the net. Cuse up by 1 at halftime. Then came Emily Harris-Schuck. All she needs, a little bit of space, and voila. Gets it at the top of the 8-meter fan, puts Cuse up 1. That lead balloons up to 6. 9 minutes later, Olivia Adamson shakes, bakes, scores. Syracuse had 12 third-quarter goals. And brace yourself, Jaron. Emily Harris-Schuck on the free position. Yeah, look out. Top shelf, Harris-Schuck had 5 goals just like Tyrell, and Syracuse cruises. And Ian Nicholas saw it all down the road.
As monster trucks infested what used to be called the Carrier Dome, Syracuse women's lacrosse was forced to host Louisville at local Christian Brothers Academy. And during a 23-13 SU win, history was made. And not the history you're thinking of. Emily Harris-Schuck did score 5 goals, but she's still 2 away from Coach Trainer's all-time record. Meanwhile, draw specialist Kate Mashevsky had a career-high 19 draw controls and tied Coach Trainer's all-time mark. Both Trainer and Mashevsky worked throughout the week to rebound from a rough performance up against Cornell.
It wasn't even a bad performance against Cornell. She still had 11 draw controls, but she was not satisfied, and she knows that she has the ability to dominate. So, you know, she put in a lot of time. We watched the film, put in a lot of extra work and made a couple changes, and those changes led to big difference between 11 jaw controls and 19, so it was awesome.
I worked with Kale actually yesterday before practice just to redial it in, and I mean, learning from one of the best to ever do it, so she's very helpful.
Although the final score may not indicate it, Mashevsky's consistency was a necessity in the win. The Orange led by just 1 at the break, but used a 12-goal third quarter to steamroll the Cards like those monster trucks steamrolled the Dome. And speaking of which, SU will be back at home on Tuesday, April 19th, hosting UAlbany in their final regular season home game. Reporting from Christian Brothers Academy, Ian Nicholas, Citrus TV.
After the blowout win over Louisville, the Orange were back in the comfort of the Dome, as Ian Nicholas just said on Tuesday. Syracuse hosted in-state foe UAlbany on Senior Day. Cuse has won 14 straight over the Great Danes heading into the game, and let's just say that streak continued. A final score of 18-11, an absolute stomping for the Orange. And get this, SU started the game 12-1. Oh my goodness. And look at the hat tricks. 3 hat tricks for Syracuse. Emily Harrischuk led the way with 4 goals and 2 assists. 6 total points for her. Sam Swart also adding 3 goals. Olivia Adamson, maybe the freshman future phenom for this team, also adding a hat trick. And then Kate Mashevsky just continuing to do Kate Mashevsky things with 15 draw controls. From the turf to the diamond now, where Syracuse softball is entering crunch time as well. The Orange haven't had a winning season since 2008, but this season feels different. Cuse was 20-15 before a weekend series with Louisville. Did SU bolster its resume in Kentucky? Well, the simple answer is no. The Orange got swept 8-0, 4-1, and 3-2. Syracuse only tallied 12 hits across the 3 games, if you do your math correctly. I think that's 4 hits per game, right?
That's right.
That's 4?
That's right.
Okay,
Can't
cool.
confirm.
And they batted sub-200. After the weekend, Cuse has now lost 6 of its last 7.
Now let's take a look into what went wrong for Syracuse with the opponents just picking this team apart left and right. The hitting's not been good. The work in the circle hasn't been too pretty either. And here's the thing, Jaron, the road gets a little bit tougher too. It's nothing's just looking too great for the Orange right now.
No, because the non-conference is done. Now you're into the ACC slate, so you're going to go up against really difficult competition, game in and game out, and they're trying to stop that streak of sub-500 seasons. It's going to be difficult with all of those games against ACC caliber competition.
And all those teams too in the ACC softball standings. Syracuse isn't all the way at the bottom. Pittsburgh is below the Orange as well, but you see all those teams above them, Jaron. That's trouble, and knowing it's not every team in the ACC makes the softball tournament. That's just really what it comes down to. But still, plenty more to come on the bench. When we come back, it's officially postseason time for Syracuse tennis. But before the Orange figured out who was coming up in the ACC tournament, they wrapped up regular season action in the Sunshine State. Find out how Cuse fared against Miami and Florida State after this.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl.
Back here on the bench, that's Jaron May. I'm Trey Redfield. Jaron, Syracuse tennis begins its ACC tournament run on Tuesday. But before that, the Orange got to soak up the sun a little bit in Florida. I'm a little jealous.
Oh, I'm very jealous. That's where you would have found Syracuse tennis this past weekend. Syracuse had a date with number 14 Miami on Friday. The Hurricanes went into the match 8-3 in the ACC, while the Orange flip it, just 3-8. Those numbers held strong too, as Miami played like a top 15 team in the country. The Canes swept all 4 points Daeva Achong led the way for Miami, winning first singles and first doubles. Maya Tahan also clinched 2 points, and with the loss, Syracuse fell below 500 and headed a couple hours north to Tallahassee.
So the Orange get rocked like a hurricane on Friday, but there was still some work to do on Sunday. Syracuse headed up to the Panhandle, taking on Florida State. To wrap up its regular season, there's no better way than pulling off an upset right before the ACC tournament. I mean, look at this, Jaron. How about it? Syracuse did just that, shocking 35th ranked Florida State 4-3 in Tallahassee. It was a clutch win in the number 6 singles for Enos Fonte. The sophomore snagged a 3-set victory, securing the win. And it was a good thing because Fonte doesn't win that point. Here's the thing. Florida State has 4 unanswered points. So with that big-time win, Cuse wraps up the year at 3-9 in conference play, 9-10 overall. The Orange lock up the 10th seed in the ACC tournament, taking on 7th-seeded Wake Forest. If Syracuse rallies to a victory on Thursday, it'll take on 2nd-seeded Duke on Friday, a team that shut out the Orange 7-0 in Durham. For updates throughout the tournament in Rome, Georgia, follow Philip Galati on Twitter at PhilipGalati4 for in-match updates.
Okay, now it's time to get serious about the sport that I told you was the most important in this show. We got to talk about Cuse men's rowing because they are absolutely killing it this season. It's an underreported and underappreciated sport, so you probably don't know that Syracuse is ranked 6th in the nation right now. This past weekend, the Orange traveled down to Princeton, New Jersey to compete for the Goes Trophy. That trophy is staying in the 3-1-5. Syracuse bested number 14 Cornell by 5 seconds and number 11 Navy by 9. This is the first time Syracuse has won that Goes Trophy back-to-back years since 2008. The Orange also took home the Stag Cup with wins from 2nd and 3rd varsity. After the meet, assistant coach Jason Elephant shared his feelings about his team.
This was a good challenge for the guys coming back from California last week to get up and ready for a tough opponent on a short week of practice. And I was really happy with the way the guys responded and took care of business in those 3/8. We've got a 2-week break before our next race where we're going to head up to Vermont to race Dartmouth and BU at the end of the month. So we've got time now to regroup, focus on the task at hand, and work towards the end of our regular season.
So now we've gone through all the teams on the hill, but when we come back, we put the icing on the cake. Not just performers of the week, but the on the bench's top plays too. Say less. It's OTB on OTN. More to come on the other side.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Wrapping up shop in the CitrusTV studio. Welcome back to On the Bench. I'm Jaron May. He's Trey Redfield. And this is my favorite time of the show. It's time to look back on the past week and relive some of the best moments that drew the oohs and ahs this week. Well, let's find out what our top plays of the week. And we're going to start with number 3. We're going to the lacrosse field. You got to watch this pass. Roll the tape. Look at this. Tucker Dordovic, Syracuse versus UNC. He's going to catch the pass on the left side. Behind the back. It's so good, we gotta watch it twice. Look at this, slow it down. Whoop, right behind. Brendan Curry catches, steps, fires a missile to the upper right 90. That is a fantastic play. If that's number 3, I don't even know where we're going for 2 and 1.
Oh, here we go. We're going to stay on the lacrosse field. Coming in at number 2, it's right place, right time for Jackson Birtwistle, at least. Max Krieg leaves his net. Birtwistle takes advantage and shoots it from midfield. There's a wide open goal. It's like Happy Gilmore. All you got to do is tap it in. All Birtwistle had to do was sling it in.
So if those are number 3 and number 2, well, we got to go to number 1. And number 1, we go to the women's side of things on the lacrosse field. Delaney Schweitzer, a 50-yard pass caught at midfield, then out on the break, Katie Goodale sprints ahead, passes it off to Savannah Schweitzer, and then a heater on the run. That is number 1, and those are some great plays. That's how you run the fast break for Syracuse women's lacrosse. And there you go. Those are our plays of the week. But don't think the show is over just yet. No, no, no. Trey, put it up. Put it up. Put it right there. It's time for our performers of the week. As always, there are so many candidates, but only 3 can make it on the wall. Trey, take it away. Number
Jaron,
1.
It's so unfortunate that there are only 3, but I'm starting where you start the ball in women's lacrosse. That's the draw control circle. Kayla Mashesky is our first performer of the week, and rightfully so. The junior had a career-high 19 draw controls against Louisville on Saturday and kept it going on Tuesday against UAlbany with 15. By the way, Jaron, those 19 on Saturday tied her head coach, Kayla Trainer, for most in a single game. We haven't seen this much success at midfield since 2016.
One of the hottest players in the entire country right now in the draw circle. All right, our second performer of the week goes to Jackson Birtwistle. If you don't recognize the name, I don't blame you. The redshirt freshman on SU men's lax only played 3 games in his career before last week. But against Cornell and UNC, the midfielder went off. He scored 2 against the Big Red and netted his first ever hat trick versus the Tar Heels. Plus, he had a ground ball and 2 caused turnovers against Carolina. That breakout performance earns Jackson Birtwistle an OTB Performer of the Week nod.
So he's the Performer of the Week, and he got an on-the-bench stop play?
I mean, that is a check and a check. Put it on the resume, Jackson.
That's not bad.
And he's a redshirt freshman, too.
Yeah.
Plenty of time.
It's like what we talked about. You know, there's so much future with this Syracuse lacrosse squad. Losing season now, but Memorial Day weekend in the next coming years?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Gotta have it. But I am a Syracuse women's lax fan. Actually, I'm the #1 fan of Syracuse women's lacrosse.
That's cap. It's me.
Because
That's
our
cap.
final performer of the week, it's Emily Harris-Chuck. She's on a tear. 11 points against Cornell last Tuesday, 5 goals against Louisville on Saturday, and 4 against UAlbany on Tuesday. That's not even the most eye-popping stat, Jaron. Harris-Chuck broke Kayla Trainer's record for the most goals scored by a Syracuse player. Talk about the bench boss's own gals rewriting the record books.
I mean, Emily Harris-Chuck, you've known ever since she was a freshman that she is going to dominate this team, and now she has the opportunity to lead this Syracuse women's lacrosse team that just made it to Memorial Day weekend last year and has that bad taste in their mouths losing to Boston College in the national championship. They have a realistic possibility of getting back to Memorial Day weekend this year and competing for that national championship. 3 very worthy performers of the week, and it's all on the lacrosse field. Wow. It is impressive what these lacrosse teams are doing here at Syracuse. That's all the time that we have for On the Bench. For Trey Redfield, I'm Jaron May. Thanks so much for tuning in. Now, enjoy your images of the week because there are so many to enjoy.
Yet to score today. Check that. She's got 1. Play pass inside Jenny Markey. Underhand shot. Olivia Adamson scores. Another draw win. Jenny Markey wants to take it herself, looking for the hat trick, and she delivers. Left alone is Adamson, and she's got a hat trick.